My husband Tom and I bought the Seaside Motel in October. It was a simple 10-room inn, standing along a cliff overlooking the Pacific. It came with an office and a narrow parking lot that tested your skills every time you pulled in. But it was our dream project, and we thought we could make it work. That New Year's Eve was our first holiday managing the place. We were fully booked by mostly families and couples escaping the crowded beach towns an hour south. By 11:30, things had pretty much settled down. Tom and I locked up the office and started walking back to our unit at the end of the building when we noticed the car. An old Honda Accord was parked at an angle near the cliff edge that I didn't recognize from any of the guest cars that had checked in. The engine was running, but the headlights were off. I squinted and could make out a silhouette hunched over the driver's seat. Tom might have felt the creeps too, because he too slowed down as we got closer. We were only a couple steps away when the engine shut off and a man wearing tattered jeans and a dark hoodie got out. He looked like one of those long-haul truck guys who spent most of their life driving around, but he was extremely pale and thin and smiled shadily. He told us he was looking for a place to crash for the night and asked if we had any availability. I told him we didn't, and gave him the name of a larger motel about 15 miles up the highway instead. He nodded, but instead of getting back in his car, he started asking about our guests. How many families did we have? Whether they had kids? The questions felt wrong and way too invasive, so Tom stepped forward, emphasized that the property was private, and told him if he wasn't a guest, he needed to leave. The man nodded again, mumbled something about figuring things out, got back in his car, and drove off. We watched him turn onto the highway heading north before we went to our room and tried shaking it off. Around 1 a.m, the office phone rang. It was the couple in room 4. They said someone had been knocking on their door, asking if they needed help. When they looked through the peephole, nobody was there. Tom said we'd check it out. We were putting on our shoes when the phone rang again. This time it was the family in room 7. Someone had tried their door handle. Their kids were awake and scared. We grabbed our phones and flashlights and went outside. The parking lot looked exactly how we left it. All the guest cars were still there in their spots. But tucked at the far end by the cliff was the same Honda Accord. The guy was back. I felt my heart pound in my chest as Tom aimed the flashlight toward the car and called out. But nobody answered, and the car seemed to be empty. We started moving along the building, checking between the parked cars and looking into the darker corners where the overhead lights didn't quite reach. Suddenly, I felt a presence near the edge railing. I flashed a light towards it to find him standing near the edge with his back to us, still as a statue. His hoodie was pulled over, hiding most of his face, but he seemed to be looking down at the water. Tom yelled over at him, asking him what the hell he was doing back here. The guy turned around really slowly. His face looked different than before. It was empty, like nobody was home behind his eyes. Suddenly, he dropped, got straight down on his hands and knees, and started crawling toward us. I screamed. The flashlight fell from my hand as I bolted for the office. My hands were shaking so bad I almost couldn't get the key in the lock. Tom was right behind me, yelling at me to hurry. I got the door open, and we scrambled inside. Tom slammed it shut and locked it just as the man reached the steps. He threw himself against the door so hard the whole frame shook. I called 911 while Tom braced himself against the door, making sure it remained closed. I could see him through the window. His face was pressed up against the door, eyes wide and crazy looking. He was staring with his mouth hanging open. Then he stopped, backed away from the door, turned around, and crawled toward the section of the parking lot that led to the cliff trail. The 911 operator told us to stay inside, said officers were on the way. They arrived maybe 15 minutes later, searched the entire property, but found nothing. One officer asked if we checked the edge of the cliff. Said people had jumped from there before. They searched until dawn. They even brought in a helicopter around 4 a.m. to check the coastline, but it was like the earth had swallowed them whole. We stayed open the rest of the weekend for the guests who'd already paid. But most nights, we just sat in the office with the lights on, watching the parking lot and checking the cameras we'd installed the week before. Every time a door closed or someone walked to their car, I jumped. The guests from rooms 4 and 7 checked out early Sunday morning. They said they couldn't feel safe. I refunded them without argument. We sold the motel in August. Couldn't do it anymore. Every time I walked across that parking lot, I saw him crawling between the cars. The police never followed up. I called a few times, but they said without a body or evidence of a crime, there wasn't anything to investigate. Said the man had probably just been on drugs or having some kind of breakdown, but I don't think that's what it was. I think he was looking for something or someone, and when we didn't give him what he wanted, he tried a different approach. But I still wonder if he ever came back, if the new owners ever saw that Honda Accord parked at an angle near the edge. I hope not, but I don't think we were the first, and I don't think we'll be the last.